I want to make a black and white render. I'm talking an old looking, grainy, gritty image. As for subject, I thought a 1960s steel mill would be perfect, so that's what I'm gonna do. For reference, I found this video of a guy doing an orbit around an entire steel mill, so I grabbed a still and imported it into F-Spy to get the proper camera angle. Then I can just recreate the factory bit by bit. At first I wanted to make an exact replica because I wanted it to be accurate. However, that just would take way too long. I don't want, and I also don't have to do that. It just has to look right. So I'm just copying all these furnaces. I also imported the video that the guy made into reality capture and turned it into a 3D scan for further reference, but yeah, I don't know, I didn't use it that much. I just went off the camera angle I had a lot more. But once I have the base structure done, I can start adding more detail. These railings and platforms and exhaust vents, as well as walkways, pipes, etc. Once I'm happy with that, I can just duplicate the structures I made to fill out the space. In my other references, I also saw this contraption doohickey, I don't know what it is, but I just added it, as well as then adjusting the scale to be about what I looked up it should be, which is I think 60 meters. Also adding some 3D scans of some other factories in the background. I found them a bit distracting, so I made them a bit smaller. Then adding some atmosphere and also adding just a basic metal texture to the factory. I didn't really feel the need to do anything else because, I don't know, it looked good. Also adding a sky and a cloud gobo. Then I'm also gonna add a fence around the perimeter of the entire factory just by making the shape with a curve, and once I figure out how to, making a plane follow it. Also adding these indentations and adding a wood texture to it as well. This looked too straight for me still, so I added some displacement as well, and that was that. I wanted to have some smoke coming out of the stacks, so I added some emitter objects to the ones I wanted to have smoke come out of, as well as adding a wind force field and of course the smoke domain. Then simulating it a bunch until I was happy and making a high-res simulation. Now, initially I wanted the foreground to be just train tracks and trains. I didn't like that because that way it felt like I didn't have a focal point, even though I wanted the factory to be my focal point. So what I did is I moved the camera back and added water. I'm making an island for the factory to stand on, adding a bunch of rocks, coloring them a bit darker so they're not as distracting, as well as adding some shrubs to it as well. Then I already want to know how it will look once it has the film, so I'm using my film simulation to see how it would look. I feel like I need some more fog, so I added some low-hanging white fog above the factory and water. Then adding some boats to the water as well and giving them an animation. Now, I didn't want to make another smoke simulation for their chimney, so I added a particle system and instanced a bunch of volume spheres basically on those particles, and that looked like a smoke. Well, anyways, and then I added the film simulation on it and gave it a color grade. By the way, the film simulation actually simulates the film particles as well as the film colors. So it has 4 different film stocks at the moment, and yeah, I'll put a link to it in the description. Anyways, I added some more fog in compositing as well, made the boats move with the ocean, and with that, it's done. So here is the final result. Thanks for watching.